This is the May energy update. Is the sun under attack? Are our skies under threat? Is there a battle for our skies? Should we do anything about it? Yes, there's so much to talk about today, including plasma beings that are coming from across the universe to our solar system. They're making their way to us right now. What will their presence do? What's going to happen? What will be catalyzed in their presence? These are plasma beings. Oh, and what about the sun? Why is there an attempt to cover it up? Let's talk about power outages. Have you seen Spain, Portugal, France? There was that very big power outage. We're going to talk about whether or not that was a natural event. Gosh, how are we going to fit all of this in? Okay. Buckle up your seatbelt. Let's go. I'm going to make this as beautiful as it is. That's right. I said to you, all of this collapse is happening. All of this crazy stuff is happening, and it's beautiful. I don't want to hide anything from you. This is an exquisite reflection on the ascension process. Let's start with the sun. There's a massive attempt right now to cover up the sun. It turns out that you conspiracy theorists were right again. Remember when you were laughed at, when you said, there's plans to cover up the sun? Well, here we go. In the United Kingdom, there is not just a plan, but a project that is funded, that is underway in order to cover up the sun. In the name of global warming, it's called the Solar Radiance Management Program or project, I forget which. It's millions and millions of pounds worth that have been invested into this. So it's not even a theory. This is happening. Why would something that is divine be deemed dangerous? Well, the sun is divine. In fact, the sun has been covered, not just now. This is not just a new project. This is what initiated the false matrix, was the covering of the sun. So the sun that we see in the sky is the real sun. We just can't see all of it, number one. But number two, even when we can see it, we can't feel it. That covering of the sun, shielding, whatever word we want to use, is what enabled the false matrix to be born. It's part of the structure of the false matrix, was separate humanity from the divine source of light, that if they had access to it, they would have access to their multidimensional nature, to all of their memories. They would heal instantaneously. They would be enlightened. They would return to their sovereignty. So you understand why the false matrix is very vested in needing that to be upheld, that shield or filter between us and the sun. Something happened that was uncalculated and unexpected, at least on the side of the archons, and not just the archons, but those who work for them and with them, the engineers of the false matrix. And that was that the light workers began on the inside to connect to their divinity. And when they did, it's as if light started to leak, light from the sun. It's the best way I can say it. It began to reach them. What shouldn't have happened, happened. That light permeated through the barriers and barricades and blockages between the false matrix and the divine matrix. And this is called spiritual awakening. This is where humanity started coming online more and more and more. And everything was set up to not have that happen, including this absolute barrage of interference waves. You know, if you become aware of that which you can't look at, that which you can't see, but are affected by, there's a myriad of discordant energies that all come from what we would think of as the sky or the air around us. And that is things like cell phone signals and EMF frequencies and all of this radiation, all of this chaos, all of this bombardment that we're around. And in being around it, you know, we land up saying things like, I don't know why, but I'm suffering from nervous system dysregulation. Well, it's because you are in a dysregulated environment. So this etheric or invisible world that we couldn't see and didn't have access to, this is where so much of the poisoning of the false matrix was coming in from. So instead of having humanity have this direct connection, we had the exact opposite. Now, this attempt to cover up the sun, so to speak, is happening because we got too good, too powerful, too efficient at connecting directly with this divine light, which was ultimately waking us up and leading us home. And as this began to occur, this is important, it wasn't just that humanity was beginning to essentially transcend the false matrix and therefore crumble the fabric of the false matrix, because the false matrix cannot maintain its integrity when one, just one, inside of it begins to enlighten. That's why such a coordinated effort has been placed on keeping humanity in their smallness. Now, as all of this occurred and unfolded, and we became these bridges that began to connect to the divine light, guess what else happened? The cosmic field, not just the sun now, but the cosmic field, the galactic plane that we're in, it began to soak in through the veil that had many, many holes in it. What caused the holes in the veil? The veil of separation, the veil that is the borderline between the false matrix and the divine matrix. That veil got punctured by so many holes that now it looks threadbare, thinner and thinner, holier and holier, but not in the spiritual holy, like full of holes. And the reason why that happened is because of more and more people connecting to the divine light, punctured these holes inside the veil, which also shows up as Earth's weakening magnetic field. The two are very, very linked, and it's not to say that the magnetic field is directly the veil, it's just to say that the two are very, very interlinked. Nonetheless, that galactic light or the cosmic radiance has begun to seep in through the veil, and as it does that, there's a whole other level of awakening that cannot be contained. Again, this is why those desperate measures are in place. But you see, the false matrix has a way of reasserting itself. And that's what they're in the process of trying to establish, to make the sun the enemy, to make climate change the great threat to humanity, that humanity is going to collude with the architects of the false matrix to cover up the sun. So imagine that. Imagine humanity becoming the voice of their own demise and saying, please, masters of the false matrix, please come save me from my own liberation. Please come save me from my own transcendence and cover up that sun, because I'm told on the news that it's really scary and dangerous. There's going to be a big fear campaign, but you're going to see valid reasons for that fear campaign. For example, mass power outages, just like the one that we saw in Spain and Portugal and France. This wasn't countrywide, this was countries wide. And the official narrative isn't covering what's really happening. What's really happening is the structure of the false matrix is being corroded by the cosmic light that's coming in through Earth's weakening magnetic field, or, put this another way, through the veil that is so thin. That light from the cosmic realm, this is where it gets so good. It contains within it beings who answered, beings who were summoned by you, by me, by every single one of us. Not because we said, come help us. Okay, maybe you did. Maybe you were one of those people that sent out that prayer, that silent prayer for help and support. But it was our frequency that was the message that was transmitted through resonance, through ripples, into the plasma field around us. You guys, plasma is going to play a very important role in our spiritual journey and in our ascension journey, not just the spiritual journey. These are plasma beings that are answering your plasma light body's radiant resonant request for support. These plasma light beings, let me describe what they look like. If we were to zoom out, what we would see is something massive. It's wavy and it's shimmering, and when we look at it and we're zoomed out, it kind of looks like it's just this, like this steady pace, right? Coming through the universe, aimed towards Earth. And these beings show up as one thing when we first look at it. It shows up as an energy field. It's a plasma being. It's a consciousness that was summoned by the light inside of you that called for support. It's coming in now. The architects of the false matrix know that, and they're petrified, and that's also why they're trying so hard to establish this barrier between humanity and the sun. Before I carry on about these plasma beings, there's a question, and I know it's sitting so loud for so many of you that it's actually interrupting me. I want to answer this question. Will they manage? Will they get this right? Will they block out the sun and therefore block our ascension? Because ascension happens, you remember this, because the sun catalyzes our plasma light body and we are shifted from 3D to 5D and beyond beings. Will this happen? And the answer is no, because it hasn't happened, because they couldn't get it right, meaning they can put up any barrier that they want to between you and the sun. But when your inner pathway to divinity is lit, nothing can break that apart. Nothing can tear that apart except for you. You can willingly hand it over. You can consciously give it away. You can disempower yourself. Yes, that's available always as an option, but you've worked too hard. You're not going to do this, spiritual warrior. You didn't come here to fight anything. You came here to face everything, and that made you courageous and bold in your light, and that light is emboldened now. So no, they can put up any filter between you and the sun. There's a direct link that's been established, but the calling is go and deepen that. These plasma beings are part of the support crew to help you deepen. They're going to catalyze a lot when they come into our field in closer proximity, meaning right into our solar system. In terms of size, it's bigger than the entire solar system. It's absolutely massive. When I first looked at it, I thought to myself, damn, that's bigger than the Earth. And then I thought, man, that's bigger than Jupiter. Then I realized it's bigger than the entire solar system that we live in. And it's just going to ripple. It's going to ripple like this through the whole solar system. Everything in its wake gets catalyzed and brought back into alignment, basically disengaged from the false matrix and re-engaged, realigned with light. But you have to have that inner work, that foundational work that you've already done. Why would you be watching this video? How did it even come to you if you haven't yet undergone some level of your own awakening? That's what you've done. Now listen. It's okay if grief happens. As you go through this destruction that actually is the birthplace for construction, right? As you see the collapse of the false matrix, there's going to be moments that are hair-raising. When you see these power outages, which are a direct result of that cosmic light coming in through the veil, you're going to see technology go on the fritz. You're going to see satellites get lost or go astray or not give accurate information. You're going to see the structures of the false matrix gradually, and maybe not even gradually. You're going to see them rapidly corroding. That's the grieving part, because then it's going to start becoming more and more real for you, and you're going to realize these sporadic power outages, these weather anomalies, these magnetic field anomalies, these auroras that are going to just show up in crazy, strange places. The not just the crazy weather, but the crazy internal weather. Your own inner atmosphere is going to be jumbled up and unsettled. And when that happens, the grief comes. The grief because it's getting real. And you're going to realize, oh my gosh, look at what I'm unplugging from and being simultaneously unplugged from. Let the grief come. The grief is cleansing. And all the while that grief is cleansing, my love, that shimmering, undulating wave of plasma is making its way right to you. And it's comforting. Why? Because as it connects to you, you're going to feel an alignment. You're going to feel a harmony come online that hasn't been there for a very long time. So yes, there's grief, but there's also a joyful reunion. And I want you to really celebrate and feel that joyful reunion. So the power structure is crumbling because your power is coming online. Your power and your sovereignty. That is the most prized, most precious thing that you've got right now. It's more valuable than gold. You're taking your power back, and I'm right here by your side from my heart all the way to yours. And yes, if you've heard it, my voice is very croaky today, but I had to just sit and record this May energy update. How could I possibly bottle this inside? I had to share this with you. So thanks for putting up with the croaky voice. It doesn't dilute the love that comes from so deep within me to that place within you that is equally as deep and powerful. It's your gentleness, remember, that made you this powerful. It's your love that made you this beautiful and this divine, even when you didn't show the world, couldn't show the world. Even when you didn't let yourself see and acknowledge the true enormity of your divinity. All of that is beginning to fade away. And as it fades, the picture shifts. It doesn't fade away into nothingness. It fades into light. It fades into this recreation of beauty, the place that you were always born to house. You were born to house divinity. That is coming online right now. So I'll speak to you really soon. If you want more information, I'll put it up here for you. There's a video on the archons. I think that's going to be a question that a couple of you have, but check the video description box because I'm going to put a couple of follow-on videos that might be really helpful for you from here. Speak to you really soon. Bye-bye for now.